and gentlemen, welcome to the Darkstone Dossiers with your host, Anthony Darkstone.
Greetings, buonasera a tutti, buon noite, bonsoir, guten Abend, and buenas noches, and a very good evening too, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you may be on the planet. As some of you regular folks will know that the Darkstone Dossiers is brought to you from the Society of American Magicians International Assembly. What is that assembly? Well, it's part of the best magic organization in the world, the SAM, and the oldest. We started in 1902, and we had Harry Houdini as the president twice. And in the meet and greet after the show, some gentlemen who know about these things, particularly one of them that I'm going to introduce to you, will tell you a little bit more about what's happening on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, etc. Now, today is kind of special. I think most of you kind of figured out why it's special. But before I get there, there are people from all over the planet watching this from different countries. And I want to let you know, as I always do, the Society of American Magicians. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to join them. Anybody can, and that's why we have the International Assembly. So before we get to, as they say in wrestling terms or boxing terms, the main event, I'd like to introduce in no particular order, four gentlemen actually, that I'm delighted to have here tonight before we go to my guest. Ladies and gentlemen, past national president of the Society of American Magicians and our dean of the International Assembly, Dr. Joel Batman Zaritsky.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. I know you're coming from all over the world to see this amazing episode tonight, and we're all excited to be here. Just so you know, we have live transcripts, closed captioning set up as with all SAM events. Thank you, Anthony, for having us, and looking for a great show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joel. I'd like to just quickly scoot over to Canada, where we have the president-elect of the Society of American Magicians, who is also a member of our International Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome and say hello to Rod Chow.
Thank you, Anthony. Well, what a thrill, what an honor to have Master Magician Lance Burton on your Darkstone Dossiers. This is going to be so exciting. So everyone from all parts of the world, welcome and enjoy.
Thank you, Rod. And of course, moving along to our current president of the Society of American Magicians, most illustrious, and for those of you who don't know, it's how we address the president. Most illustrious, Tom Gentile.
How are you, everyone? I'm so glad that this very special guest is able to make some time during National Magic Week and talk about the many aspects of hopefully his career, his magic, his travels, and share whatever his wisdom with us tonight.
Thank you, Tom. Most illustrious. And of course, it would not be complete with a gentleman that we all love. Really, I mean, I do. Simple as that. The dean of the Society of American Magicians, who I'm sure would like to say a few words of welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome George Schindler.
Welcome, welcome. I want to thank you all for coming. And this year, we're celebrating the anniversary of Houdini's death on Friday at the grave. And so we're going to do that. And that's going to open our Magic Week officially. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful meeting.
Thank you, George. Now, let's just go, as we say in boxing and other terms. I don't know why I keep picking that. Yeah, I think I know why I keep picking that. Because there was quite a famous boxer from Kentucky. Some of you may have heard of him. His name was Muhammad Ali. But anyway, speaking of Kentucky, there were three things that came out of Kentucky that pretty much everybody knows about. One of them, of course, is the Derby and horses. I love dogs and horses. The other thing is bourbon. I'm quite fond of that too. And of course, Lance Burton, who we'll get to in a minute. But before we do, let me just quote a great talk show host who was a magician, who ran with the Rat Pack, and who knew what he was talking about. And this is what he said: a beautiful, classy act, the best I've ever seen. And the gentleman who said that was none other than Johnny Carson. The readers of the Las Vegas Review named Lance Burton the best magician They didn't do it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, or 10 times. They did it 18 times annually every year. And of course, we have to have something from Las Vegas, and that is he was a headliner for 3 decades. Those of you who can't count, that's 30 years plus. 15,000 shows. You think about it, 15,000 shows, and over 15 million fans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the screen the one and only, the unique Grandmaster Lance Burton.
Hey, Anthony, how are you? Glad to be here. Sitting with me is Miss Kitty Marie and Keith West.
Hey.
And they're part of my Lance Burton and Friends show. And we're getting ready to go out on a big tour here very shortly for the month of November.
I know Keith has been telling me about, he's been working you hard, I gather.
We're about ready to get going. And I saw you had the president of the SAM there. I recently did a little event with my good buddy Matt King at the Fraser Museum, and President Gentile very kindly sent me a citation from the SAM, and he signed it and everything, and it's official. And I want you to know I got it, and I have it right here. And thank you very much. That was very kind of you to do that.
Well, that is really, really fantastic. Welcome, and I'm so glad that Most Illustrious did that. Okay, we have a kind of limited time like we do on most talk shows. Lance, well, thank you for being here, and it's been absolutely a thrill, talking with you and Keith and Kitty and getting this all together. So thank you for making the time. So let's use it wisely. I want to use 2 quotes of yours, which you have many quotations, but I chose 2 that I'd like you to maybe just talk a little bit about. And let me just tell you what the quotes were. These 2 I'm particularly fond of. We didn't have a whole lot of money when I was growing up. I always asked for magic tricks or books for my birthday or Christmas. The rest of the year, I mowed lawns and other jobs to supplement my magic. And the other quote is, it's new and different every night. The charge you get from a good audience is like nothing else. Talk to us a little bit about those thoughts of yours, because I want to get to the Lance behind the Vegas Lance.
Sure. Yeah. Keith and I were talking all the time about our growing up and getting into magic. And I got here's a, that I must have had performing in my blood my whole life, because here's some photos from the souvenir book. That photo right there, I must have been about 1 year old, because I was still in diapers. Somebody gave me a guitar that must be for Christmas or my birthday or something. And I am standing on the footstool, and it looks like I'm doing a little show. So that's the earliest known record of me performing. And there I am at my 10th birthday, and I had my linking rings, and I got that table for my birthday. That's a nightclub table. I still have it. And that belonged to my mentor, Harry Collins. And that was his old table. He got a new one. So my mom bought his old table for my birthday. And that's me performing with that table. I changed the Mr. Magic, and I put Lance the Magician on it. And I must be around, 15 years old there, 14, something like that. So, yeah.
That's a good age, because that's when my son, who is a lot older than 15 now, just became one of your super duper #1 fans. I think you know about that, and we talked about it. Anyway, you have brought up very neatly a couple of names. Well, one of them, and that is Harry Collins, because I think there's a lot of magicians watching, and maybe a few lay people. This gentleman, Harry Collins, and I think we have a picture of him somewhere, which our mutual pal, Brett Saul, was very kind and sent to me, that we can pull that up on the screen. Yeah, and he was the first magician you saw, and you were 5 years old.
That's correct. Now, that is a photo of the statue of him at his gravesite at Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's a beautiful life-size bronze. And that's a very good likeness of Harry. And also right there next to him, you can see it's a lot more obvious when you're there in person, but that is his table, his kind of nightclub table, and there's a cape draped over it. So it's a beautiful monument. And if you ever go to Cave Hill Cemetery, he is very close to Colonel Sanders, only a matter of steps away, maybe 25 yards, maybe 50 yards, but he's easy to find.
Because Harry became your lifelong mentor after a while, didn't he?
Yes. Harry was the first magician I saw, and then he encouraged me magic, and he taught me magic. And here's a photo of Harry and I. And on this one, I guess I'm about 16 years old, and that's a show that we were doing, probably a school show back then. But Harry was a very good magician. He could do stage magic, he could do close-up magic, he could work a hospitality suite, just a really all-around skilled performer and entertainer.
Well, acknowledging, shall we say, I mean, there have been so many influential and wonderful people in your life, and I can't possibly cover them all, but I think it would be remiss if I did not cover Mr. Thomas Tobin. I believe we have a couple of shots of him as well that we bring up, and I have you maybe talk over the shots, because there you are, paying your respects to him.
For those who aren't familiar with Thomas Tobin, he was a magician who he from England. He was born there. There's the monument we put up in 1844. He's born in London, England, and he got involved in magic. He got involved with Professor Pepper of Pepper's Ghost fame, and he was kind of Tobin was, by all accounts, a genius. He was very knowledgeable in chemistry and physics, and just an all-around smart guy. He had a run of only a couple of years where he invented these fantastic illusions, including, and they're listed there, some of them on the monument. But one of the most important ones was the Sphinx illusion, with the table with the living head on it. Right. So he sort of pioneered the whole art form of using glass mirrors in magic, and then he disappears from the record. Nobody knew what happened to him. Nobody knew where he went. And my buddy Jim Steinmeier solved the mystery. Jim tracked him down. Apparently, he came over to America with another performer. They ran out of money in Louisville, Kentucky. The performer flew back to England. Tobin decided to stay, and he got a job at the university and became very well known in Louisville. But he was well known as the kind of eccentric, kindly professor, and no one knew of his connection with magic. So when he died, the Cave Hill Cemetery donated the plot, and they buried him there. And no one really knew what happened to him until Jim Steinmeier tracked it down and put it together. Jim told me the story. And then a few years ago, I was in Louisville, I think it was 2016, for the combined IBM SAM convention. Several of us go over to Cave Hill Cemetery and visit Harry and Colonel Sanders and Muhammad Ali, and kind of take the tour. And then as we're leaving, Keith and I decided to stop and ask at the front. I wanted to find out if they knew where Thomas Tobin.
Well, they gave us the coordinates, and we got within 8 feet of it.
Yeah, so they
couldn't quite find it. It was an unmarked grave.
Yeah, well, anyway, we find the area, and we find where we think it is, and we were really close. You know, we kind of used landmarks, and then
I waved down this tour guide.
Yeah,
this guy John Campbell. If you're ever in Louisville, it was the most fun afternoon I've had in a long time.
Oh yeah, he gave us the tour.
They don't charge anything, and if you can get John Campbell to give you the tour, he's the best tour guide in there. Well, anyway, he stops over, and I said, I'm looking for this grave. And he takes us, we were really close to it. He finds us the exact grave. And then he goes, wonder why you two young guys are looking for someone in a pauper's field that died 100 years ago. And Lance says, well, we're magicians, and this guy helped the magic community, invented this stuff. And then the guy goes, this is the best part. He goes, you know, before I retired and started giving tours, I ran a golf course. And I used to hire this young magician, and he would come in with his mom, and she'd drive him to do this show. And I'm going,
well, every magician in the country's in town. Who was it? He goes, well, I think his name was Lance Burton. I wonder if magic, did anything happen with him on that? And I'm just staring right there. And then Lance gave him a bunch of posters and DVDs and stuff. This guy had no idea. He had hired Lance like 3 or 4 times when he was in high school, then lost track, and often wondered, now, did magic work out for that young man? Because he was really good.
I remembered the guy. He used to hire me to do these Sunday shows at the golf course, the country club.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, Keith and I were the first magicians to find the grave, and then we come back to Louisville a couple of years later. We were doing a Lance Burton and Friends show.
1 year later,
we arranged to have that
stone made
and put up. So if you go to Cave Hill now, you can find his burial spot.
Oh, now it's
easily.
a big tourist attraction. They'll take you right to it. It's easy to find. Marked.
Well, I want to take you over to real quick because, man, like I said, we could sit here for an entire day and still not cover everything. So I just wanted to kind of headline and pinpoint some things. One of them, in fact, was an incredibly dear family friend of mine, and a good pal of yours as well. And we have a shot of you paying tribute to him on a tombstone. And that, of course, is an amazing legend, dear Walter Blaney from Kingwood in Texas. So if we put there you are. What's the story behind that, Lance?
Yeah, that was August during the Abbott's Magic Convention this year. They were unveiling Walter's gravestone, the monument there, and I wonder if there's a closer shot because it's a beautiful monument. It's in the shape. The outline is the outline of the Alamo, which is really neat. Oh, here we go.
Walter was a Texan through and through.
Yes, of course he was. Exactly. Yeah, I spent wonderful times with him in his home and elsewhere. Yeah, but as Lance pointed out, and I'm glad you did, because that monument, tribute, whatever you want to call it, is shaped like the Alamo, which pretty much everybody here, apart from maybe 2 people, don't know, is in San Antonio. Pronounced San Antonio by those who don't know, in Texas. But that's a fabulous tribute. So you went there and you made a little speech and tribute, didn't you, Lance?
Yeah, they asked me to.
Wand, did you?
Yeah, David Sandy did the wand, but they asked me to speak, and so I talked a little bit about Walter and about what a kind man he was, and what a good friend, and then they asked me to do the vanishing bird cage. So I have one of the new Blaney vanishing bird cages. And so I produced the cage and I introduced the bird, and I did sort of an inside joke. I said, he's not exactly the same species, but he's very closely related to the Texas ooh-ah bird. So if you knew Walter, if you knew his act, you got
the ooh-ah bird.
You know what the ooh-ah bird is for sure. There's one more gentleman I want to pull up before we get to talking about shows, and with Kitty as well, who's just been looking lovely and sitting silently. And this gentleman, I had the privilege of spending some wonderful time with in Vegas after I actually lectured there one time back in the day. And a man I think that was very dear to you. And we all know the backstory on that and how you helped in his latter years. And that's the legend himself, Mr. Gary Darwin. Let's pull up a picture of Gary for those who don't know.
Yeah,
Gary. There he is.
There's Gary. Gary was the first friend I made in Las Vegas. I opened at the Folies Bergère at the Tropicana Hotel on May 20th, 1982, almost 40 years ago. And I was only in the show a day or two. And all of a sudden, one of the guys backstage says, Lance, there's a call for you on the payphone. And for you young kids, payphones were what we used before we had cell phones. And I thinking, who's calling me? I don't know anybody in Las Vegas. I just moved here. Well, I pick up the phone and he introduces himself and he says, my name's Gary Darwin, and I heard we had a new magician in town. I wanted to invite you to our weekly magic club meeting. And I said, Gary, I'm happy to know you. I'd love to come. When is the meeting? He says, Wednesday night. I says, well, I'm working Wednesday night. I got 2 shows. He says, that's no problem. We don't start till midnight.
Right, boomers. If you in the back room, yeah,
I'll be
absolutely. There. Yeah.
that's how I met Gary. And then he invited me over to his house and he showed me his collection and his library. And I would always go over there and borrow books from Gary when I was researching new magic tricks. So anyway, Gary and I became very good friends and very close. And he passed away a couple of years ago. And he left the collection and his library to me. And so it's kind of overwhelming. But tying this in with the Walter Blaney story, when I was at Abbott's this summer, I checked around for a place. Gary was cremated, and we have him in a lovely, beautiful wooden urn that was made by Lupe Nielsen. And she did that. Yeah, oh, it's not just an urn; it's actually a drawer box urn, a working drawer box urn. We thought
he can vanish and come back.
We thought Gary would love that, and but I was thinking about what to do for a final resting place for Gary. So while I was up there at Abbott's, I started investigating the cemetery there, and I bought the very last plot in the Blackstone section.
48 feet from Blackstone Senior.
And for those who knew Gary, Blackstone Senior, that was his guy. He was inspired by seeing Blackstone Senior when Gary was like 8 years old, and every magician he ever saw, he always compared to Blackstone. That was his guy. So I bought a plot there, last one available in the Blackstone section, and we're designing the stone now. And if you liked Walter Blaney's, you're going to love Gary's.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to that, because I saw a picture of the drawer box that Lupe made. And I was very privileged and honored a couple of times to hang out with Lupe and know him, blessings for his memory, and had some fun times with them. And I thought, how appropriate. And for the three people who are watching who don't know who Lupe is, she is the widow of the great Norm Nielsen. And she is an amazing magician, not just with coins, but with wood. The things that lady can make with wood, it's magic. So how very appropriate. Okay, well, I'm going to want to jump a little bit over to Kitty and to Keaton a little bit. But before we do that, let's just pull up two stills that, you know, as a producer and the host, I get to choose these things. Yay! Of the show with, would you believe this? Ducks in the front. Because of all the things that you are known for. There's this classic phrase of yours, where did the ducks go? And I just thought that was beautiful staging. I mean, wow, you're just amazing at staging. So there that is. Now, I'm sure you have a ton of fun stories about the ducks.
Yeah, if you've never worked with ducks, they are kind of messy animals. But there's just something about a duck on stage, and it's walking around on the stage that warms people's hearts. People find it fascinating, and they're drawn to the animal, and they're funny, and that was one of my favorite sequences in the show. And I'll tell you, the longer you do magic, you know, if you're doing it right, the more you learn. You're always learning. And I took lessons that I learned when I was at the Hacienda Hotel and applied them to the show when I went to the Monte Carlo and I redid the show. One of the lessons I learned was at the Hacienda Hotel, the closing illusion was my sword act, which was the card sword, where I get a guy from the audience, pick a card, stab it, and then the sword fight with the transposition. Well, let me just say, if you're doing a 15-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute act, that's fine. That works perfect. But when you're doing a full evening show and you get to the end of the show and you're approaching that 90-minute mark, the card sword is the wrong trick to do when you get that far into the show, because you're an hour and a half in. If you're going to do a card trick, do that earlier in the show. So I always felt when I was at the Hacienda, I learned that it's too late during the show to do a card trick.
Right.
So I thought in my mind, when I move to the bigger room, I'm going to redo that segment I'll keep the sword fight, of course, to close, but leading up to it, I wanted a series of quick, fun, bang, bang illusions. Get a rhythm going, bang, bang. And the ducks fit in perfectly. I always love seeing ducks on stage. I remember I didn't see the old man, but I saw Harry Blackstone Jr., of course, do the routine with the ducks. He did a duck tub and then banished them in the duck inn. It was all great stuff and fun. And that's
then
the feel I want.
you had what'd you call that again? Because you had the party. It was the
mass ball.
The mass ball. It was as if everybody in the audience got a big reward. Y'all got invited to a party.
Yeah.
It's a perfect ending. It was, if you saw the show, it was superb.
Story about how the ducks would follow, like one of them went off somewhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the fun nights are the times when the things went wrong. Every now and then, if you put a new duck into the act, they'll follow each other around pretty much. They're social animals, but if you got a new duck or even an old duck that kind of takes a misstep, they'll fall off the stage. They'll go into the audience. Well, when that happens, that was great, because what I'd do is I'd stop the music. I'd run down to the audience. I'd get the duck. I'd bring him back up, and I'd get the duck up real close to me, and I'd lower my voice, and I'd say to the duck, "Now listen, either you do the act the way we rehearsed it, or I'm going to introduce you to my friend, Colonel Sanders." Now go over there with your buddies and wait for your cue. And I would set the duck on the stage, and I'd let go of him, and he would run right over to the other ducks and just stop and stay with them. And the audience would just go crazy. Yeah,
it was great. It was.
I mean, you've had some really, really fun. Well, I'd say fun in inverted commas parenthesis on stage. I always remember watching a clip. I actually didn't see it live, but watching a clip of this kid had come over from England, and I think the repartee was something about you were saying to him something about being this close to a Las Vegas showgirl, and the kid was just kind of wow. He was just like. Wow, he was ad-libbing. It was great. Yeah.
The kid's name was Miles.
Wow, and you remember that?
I remember the kid's name. I'm talking to him. So I said, "What's your name?" He says, "Miles." I said, "How old are you, Miles?" He says, 5. I said, "Are you married?" He says, "No." I said, "You had a girlfriend?" He goes, "No." And I said, "You want to meet one of the girls in my show?" And he goes, "Nah, we can't afford one of those."
Listen, I must, Joel.
The show stopped for like a minute because the audience was just screaming.
Oh, you can't script that stuff, man. It just happens. It's just beautiful.
And the kid had no idea.
Yeah.
He was just kept a perfectly straight face.
Wonderful. We've got this still, which
you tell me about with the shoe today.
Oh,
that's a great.
We'll get to that in a minute, Keith. We'll get that in a minute. But I want to. Joel's got this still up of the sword fight.
The sword fight.
And I got to tell you, Lance, I'm have been since forever a super fan of yours, and my son, who we've spoken about, etc., is as well. And of everything you've done, which is an 11 out of 10, for me personally, I think the whole concept of this, where it changes into everybody else just stands on the box and swaps places. I mean, the whole production on this was just absolutely stunning and brilliant. I love that effect. I really, really do, because that's how you do a sub-drunk routine. It's fun getting chained up and thrown in, but this, man, I don't know who thought of it, who invented, who created it and helped you, but this is just stunning.
I did a lot of transpositions in my career, both in the live show and on the TV specials. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you exactly where that started. It started back when I was a teenager. It's probably like 1977. Mac and I were both up at Abbott's, and Harry Blackstone Jr. performed on an afternoon show. It was a special extra charge event where they would raise money for the local Lions Club. And he closed the show with his illusion called The Old Man and the Whiskers. And if you haven't seen it, it's a transposition where at the end of the trick, the Merlin character takes off the mask, and it's Harry Blackstone, who you just seen on stage, and it's like mind blowing. So we're sitting there watching this, and it was so powerful and fooled both Mac and I so badly. We just sat there in the bleachers. The entire audience got up, left, and we just sat there for like 15 minutes, and neither one of us said a word. And we looked at each other, and Mac said, "How do you do that?" And I said, "I don't know." And I just couldn't get that out. So it made a huge impression on me. And that's why I've always loved transpositions. And so that the sword fight was my version, although the methods are completely different, but it was clearly inspired by Harry Blackstone Jr. and his father, Harry Sr., also closed his show with that. And by the way, I have Harry Blackstone Jr.'s costume, Merlin costume.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, Bill bought one.
Yeah.
No, we both bought them. They were
Okay.
You were speaking about Mac, and for the three people who don't know, this is a wonderful gentleman. He got me to his show in Vegas, etc. And the Mac we're talking about. There's a picture that Joel's pulled up, ladies and gentlemen. I think you probably now know who he is, unless you're a layperson watching this. The one and only Mac King.
And that photo was taken in April of
just this last year. That was the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, this past April in Las Vegas at UNLV, and Mac was inducted into the UNLV College of Fine Arts Entertainers Hall of Fame. So it was a joyous night, and we also got to meet Anne Margaret that night.
I talked to her. Wow! I didn't know who she was, and Lance had to introduce me to her. I really enjoyed talking to her. Then I found out she was famous, and then tell them how you set up Mac. That was hysterical.
Oh yeah,
that was really good.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Well, you love mischief, Lance. Oh wow!
Yeah,
I wouldn't believe that. Go ahead.
So one of the other speakers that night mentioned Anne Margaret being in the house and how he would have been a big fan of Anne Margaret since he was a kid. So I thought, oh, this is great. So I got up to present Mac, and I told my Anne Margaret connection that one of the books that I read when I was a teenager was by William Goldman, was a novel called Magic. And when they made it into a movie, it starred Anthony Hopkins and Anne Margaret. And so kind of pointing out that, things come full circle. And now I'm here in the same room with Anne Margaret. So it's, and then Mac came up to accept his award. And he said, I want to apologize because I don't have a Anne Margaret story, but the night is young.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the man has good taste. Yeah. Well, speaking of good taste, and we'll come to that a little bit later on, Billy Toppett, of course, 1982, the FISM, and your appearance, I think, in a few TV shows, including one of my favorites, Knight Rider. You were in that. We'll come to that in a little minute. But what I want to do, in fact, is talk to Kitty, because Kitty is an integral part of your team. And for those of you who don't know, and I think Lance will bear me out on this, the toughest job in magic is being a box jumper, because you are squashed up and put into the most strangest places. Kitty,
yes,
you tell us more about it, because that's what you do.
Box jumping is kind of strenuous. I got the scars to prove it. Every illusion will give you a bruise or a scar in certain place. And it's so funny because the girls will get together and we'll point them out, like, Bart did this, and oh, this one's from blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know exactly where each one comes from. And thank God for tights and fishnets, because our legs are bruised. Oh, that's one thing, is when you go somewhere like in the summertime and you're wearing shorts and your legs are so bruised that multiple assistants and box jumpers and people come up and go, "Are you okay? Do you need any help at home?"
We get you help. Yeah.
It's like, no, I work for a magician.
I have a shelter that I can
It's like,
take you to.
I'm okay.
Then they'll
But,
go, that's the most creative story I've heard, because you'll tell them, look, we work,
And you used to
Yeah.
say you weren't part of the show until you bled, right?
Yeah, we had in the Lance Burton show in Las Vegas, that was our rule as the cast. You weren't really a cast member until you bled on stage.
Just not on the costume.
Yeah, that's-
It's hard to get out.
Costume.
Not on the costume,
bleed on,
right?
oh, she's got a rule. You bleed on a costume.
That's the
Yeah.
motto for
You can bleed
bystanders.
anywhere. Just don't bleed on a costume, or you have to answer to her.
Look big,
Yeah.
be small, and it's all okay as long as you don't bleed on the costume.
No.
Now, it's going to surprise a lot of people here, and we're going to talk about this when I bring you on the Darkstone Dossiers with Keith, and we do a whole show about box jumping and everything. But right now, and Lance and Keith are sitting right here. Yeah. You are not exactly, let's just phrase it like this. You have a grandson,
Oh, me, I have 2 grandsons.
2 grandsons, right?
Two.
So, people kind of go, Las Vegas show goes. They don't think someone who looks like you and moves like you has 2 grandsons. I'm not being discourteous to you. I just want to let people know that it really doesn't matter. You don't have to be, 18 in a pair of fishnet tights. And you've been doing this now for how long, Kitty? Quite a while.
I've been with Keith for a decade,
Uh-huh.
and I was in like marketing and promotional stuff before, and modeling kind of things. Like I was an axe angel for a long time. And in that, a lot of the times, like when I turned 30, you'd start getting notices. Well, sorry, you're not in our age demographic anymore. And I was over the age of 30 when I met Keith and I started doing this. So it's
Well, in this art, it's more important to be quick and hit your point. And I mean, you obviously can't be big. If you gain a lot of weight, you won't fit in the box.
gotta fit in the box.
But yeah, you got to fit in the box. But I've got, 4 girls, and the longest one's been-
Shout out to Lindsay, Brandy, and Maddie.
Yes, Brandy's
Oh,
been
okay.
with me 22 years. She was a 20-year-old when I met her. She's 44 with 3 kids and a husband now.
That's how I got
Yeah.
involved with him, because Brandy was
Ah.
going on her 3rd child.
Yeah, now we agreed she could have 2. And then she gets pregnant with the 3rd one. I go, how did that happen? She goes, I don't know. I go, well, you obviously know you have 2 others. So she got pregnant on me. And then I had 3 girls that had been with me for 5 years. I was rocking good. And all in the course of like 60 days, Brandy got pregnant again. Maddie got married and moved to Wichita. And then the other one I had.
She went off to school. didn't
Yeah, she got hired. She got offered a scholarship at the Juilliard School of Dance. So she left. So I was down to like half a girl, because Brandy could work till she was 6 months pregnant. But I needed a girl, and she asked me.
I was at a trade show
Yeah.
and I saw the Walter Blaney Zany ladder levy.
Right.
And that is what sucked me into magic, because I saw that and I was like, how do I get to do that?
And I said, well, we're looking for girls. Half-heartedly, I said, if you wanted to audition, you could, not thinking she'd even show up. And then when they show up to an audition, I like to cram them in the worst possible trick I can
You
get
put
them
me in
in.
a chair illusion.
An armchair. And she jumped out like really fast. And to do it as quick as she does it, you can't use your hands. You got to crash through the door head first. And she did it without even me telling her, don't brace yourself with your hand, just smash your head through it, which hurts and leaves bruises, but it looks really
Really
cool.
good.
Yeah, and she did it without even any coaxing. So then I'm going, I'll get her to quit. So I put her in an op art. She comes out of that and she says, you could do a costume change in that. I go, no, you can't. I said, that's impossible. And next thing I know, she's designed and we do a costume. We're the only people I know of that does a costume change in it.
And I'm short enough I can wear my heels.
Yeah, very few women.
Yeah,
can-
exactly. Yeah, I've seen that, because I know I was talking to you, Kitty. When was it? Last year sometime, when I did a piece on you, if you recall, in MUM magazine last year. I think it appeared in December. I wrote a piece on you, and I asked you about any special diets, and you said, nah, I just eat anything. Does that still hold true?
Yes. And I physically work enough. I weigh less when I go out on tour, because I load, I unload, I
Well,
set up.
A show day
So-
is 9 in the morning till 2 in the morning.
Yeah, so I
Right.
get a lot of exercise that way. And then when I'm at home, I'm very active. I like to go outside. I like to go on hikes and camping. And I have aerial silks and hoop, and I'm
Well,
a busy girl.
And the other
You-
thing
you-
that
you-
makes it unusual.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're working out all the time, and you even, if memory serves me right, you put a company together where you're making hoodies with a special logo and things for
Oh, yeah,
dancers
we
and
have
so forth.
Shogo gear, which
Yeah.
the box jumper logo in it, where it has like she's in the box and then she's outside the box, which kind of shows what we do. I had a lot of at Abbott's. I sold a lot of T-shirts and jackets and stuff, and you can go online
Right.
to shogogear.com. And
Okay, say that real slow, because when we make the edit and things on the tape, I'll have our editor put that up. What is it again? www or http?
www.shogogear.com. And I
Okay.
also have all of Lance's merch on there.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
The
Yep.
Marie store in the same place.
Well, I'm real glad he's wearing this cap, because
And the
otherwise we'd never recognize him.
Like that, we
Who
got
he was.
I'll tell you Anthony, I'll tell you the most impressive thing Kitty does in
Yeah.
our show. When the show is over, Keith and I and Fielding West and Michael Goudot, we go out into the lobby of the theater and we sit there and do meet and greets for an hour. People come by and they want autographs. We sign their stuff. We take photos and we talk to people, and it's very fun, enjoyable. And then we go backstage. And by the time we get backstage, when we get done with the meet and greets, Kitty and the crew, she has organized. She's got the whole show packed in
It's
the
in
crates.
the trailer.
It's in the trailer. I walk to my dressing room. My wardrobe case is there. It's the last thing to go on. I put my costumes in, close it up, and that's the last thing on the trailer, and we're on the road.
She's
I
making.
just think you talked yourself into giving her a rise.
Now, the other thing.
We're having technical problems. Hold on, you're cutting out, Anthony.
Yeah, you didn't hear me say that. No, you
Going
didn't.
through tunnel.
Yeah, it'll be on the tape. Oh, unless we edit it out. Now, you guys must have. I mean, I see occasionally pictures of you after shows and things like that. You're just hanging out, and one of the nicest things about you, Lance, and I want to embarrass the heck out of you, but it needs saying because a lot of people don't know this, and I'm very happy to have heard it from friends and then in conversations with Keith. After a show, a lot of like superstars kind of like, don't touch me, I'm a star or whatever. But I've heard, and I know this to be true because Keith had told me, you've had like youngsters of maybe 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever, young guys come up and they want to show you a card trick. And I don't want to embarrass you, but I really want people to know the Lance behind the showbiz Lance on stage with the Ducks. You take the time after a show when you're shattered, which you're doing every day for 90 minutes. Okay, you go dark one day, but still. You take the time to sit there with a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old or whatever age they are, watch him show you a card effect, and then sit there with him for 45 minutes or more, tutoring him. I mean, Keith, you told me that, right?
Oh, I've seen him do it more than once.
Sponge
Yeah.
bunny.
Now, this is, to me, I don't know how to describe this other than just the words I've just said. So people get to know it's not just, hey, master magician, superstar. This is a genuine, caring person. And I also happen to know, and I think we got a picture somewhere of you with one on each arm, a couple of dogs. I mean, I love dogs and horses, man. I mean, I really do. There they are. Can pull that up. Yeah. That's either you or your younger brother.
Oh yeah,
They're Rio.
Yeah, I know they're real. I know it's real.
Oh, Rio.
Rio.
The dog's
Yeah.
name is Rio.
the one on the left is Rocky, and he's
Right.
He's sleeping right now. He's right here next to him. He's 11, and the other one, the little brown mini pin, that was Rio. He passed away a few years ago. He lived
Ah.
15 and a half, and yeah, those are.
In prepping for the show, I wanted to find a couple of pictures of you, and I found one with you taking Rocky for a walk. And I thought, man, that's not going to fit. But there you are with these two dogs, because again, the lance behind the lance, you devote an enormous amount of your time, energy, and money caring for strays and lost animals and dogs. And I'm embarrassing you. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I just want people to know. Go ahead, kid. Go ahead.
If reincarnation's real, I want to come back as his pet. You'll get treated better than you get the royal treatment. Oh yeah, being his pet you got to see his birds. They're 100 years old, and they're like, oh my God, yeah.
Birds. I mean, everybody has in their mind, 1982, that wonderful Fizamac. And there's two things stood out for me, and I have to talk about them because, I notice these little things, and there are other people like me who do. Most magicians would have undone this and then rolled up their sleeves. Somebody talked to you, or you thought of it, I don't know, and I thought, I'm going to ask him on a show. You've got your ruffle sleeve, and all you did, well, I can't do it because I'm wearing cufflinks, just pushed it up. And I remember seeing that for the first time and thinking, boy, that's genius. There was none of this fumble, it just flowed. I mean, the dub came out and whatever, and something else, and this came up. Wow. And the other thing that, yes, they've been around for a little while, but I think you made it the #1 prop for a few years, and that was the match pull. I remember looking at that and thinking, my God, I forgot about that. And then everybody and the dog, sorry, no pun intended, decided to do this, with match pulls. So, there were little touches that forever in magic history, as you were talking about with, the Merlin act with Harry Blackstone, that people will kind of go, wow, this is the way the guy put his sleeves up, or, he lit a candle. And then, of course, you made, he's gone now, blessings to his memory, Dear Ricardo, quite famous in a way, because I assume you were using his candles, yes?
Oh, Fantasio, yes.
Yes.
I'll tell you a story about Fantasio. Lovely man, Fantasio.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had the pleasure of knowing him, yeah.
It was my big honor when he was given the Master's Fellowship by the Academy of Magical Arts a few years ago. They asked him, who do you want to present? He said, I want Lance Burton to present it to me. And that was a big honor. And I went there and I presented him with the Master's Fellowship. And when he came up on stage, he's so beloved in the magic world. There's a photo. Someone took a photo of me and Fantasio on stage during that presentation. And right. I have my arm around him and I'm pointing like this. And someone got the photo. And what happened, the reason, I'll explain how that came about. He came up on the stage and the audience rose to their feet. They were giving him a standing ovation. He was so beloved. And I didn't want him to miss that because the lights were very bright.
Right.
So he came up on stage and we hugged. And I saw the audience. I could see the audience was standing. So I grabbed him by the shoulders and I turned him towards the audience and I pointed and I said, Fantasio, look, they're standing up. They love you.
Yeah.
And so I knew that moment was a big moment for him. I did not want him to miss it. But he was just a lovely, lovely man. And going back to talking about the candles, I got a Fantasio candle for Christmas when I was 12 years old, and I started doing it in my birthday party shows, and over the years, did it, and in the end, Fantasio would just send me things. He would call me up and say, Lance, do you need any candles? I'll send them to you. He would just send them to me, and because he loved the fact that I was using his Fantasio candles in my act in Las Vegas and performing them, and he was just a good friend and a great magician, and I really miss him. I miss him
and a wonderful human being. I mean, I know I'm the producer and host of the show, and I shouldn't say personal stories, but seeing as you brought it up about him, we first met him at a SAM convention in New Orleans, and my son, I can't remember how old he was at the time, probably 17 or 18 or some such thing, and he was doing candles, like everybody did after you. And Fantasia happened to be there Ricardo, as we knew him. He just came up and he spent probably about half an hour talking to my son, and which is great and whatever. And then my son came back afterwards and he said, "Dad, guess what?" And I said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, she Fantasia was talking to me, Senor Ricardo, etc." I said, "Yeah, I had noticed that kind of my eye. Great, it's very nice of you to do that." It took a long while. And he was very complimentary. And I said, "Well, that's good." And he said, "No, Dad, you missed the best part." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "He gave me these." So, it's what I call magic. That's magic. That's what we do. And that's why I brought up, I don't want to embarrass you again, but that's why I brought up the things that Keith was telling me and other folks have said about you taking the time to sit with, a young person, watch him show you, and this is not just, down the street. This is after 19 minutes of the show. And anybody who's done a 90-minute show for 15 years or more, no, 30 years or more, it's hard enough to do a half an hour show. You're doing this every night.
Well, Anthony, this is my job now. I consider this is my job. My last regular performance was September 4th, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I did my last show in Las Vegas and I walked off stage. I didn't do any shows for 7 years until we started doing Lance Burton and Friends. So I'm enjoying going out and doing the Lance Burton and Friends. But the thing about doing the shows now is the intent, I think, is a little different. I look at myself as the Johnny Appleseed of magic. So I'm out there trying to promote magic as a hobby, as something for young people, as something that's good for young people, keeps them off the streets.
Right.
We have our teen seminar, which we do now every year at the IBM convention. And that's a program that's free of charge for the young people. And I've spoken at some assemblies of the SYM. I know the Society of American Magicians has a very strong youth.
Yes, it does, with Alan Solomon running it. Yes.
I think it's very important on all of us to promote magic and to reach out to the younger people, the next generation, and actively promote them to get interested in magic. I'll tell
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you just to say, before I forget, I'm not being rude. I'm just trying to converse you. A very good pal of mine who I've known for 20-something years, and he's also worked with you, and many will know the name, J. Scott Berry. I mean, we have this philosophy exactly as you do. It behoves us now because, come on, man, let's be honest. We've had so much good fortune. We've had so many wonderful people helping us. It's time to give back. As Jay says, look, it's an old cliche, but it's true. We stand on the shoulders of giants. And if you're not paying it forward, what the heck's the point? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's exactly right. And we should all be doing that. And magic is the world's greatest profession, but it's also the world's greatest hobby. My mom, Hilma Burton, some of you met my mom over the years. She always used to tell people, she said, I never had to worry about Lance. I never worried that he was out getting into trouble. I always knew where he was. He was in the basement with his tuxedo and his birds, and he was practicing that act.
Oh, yeah. Just go to one magic convention. Every other convention on the planet, everybody's out getting drunk all night. You go to a magic convention, every hallway, there's men on the floor going, pick a card. 3 o'clock in the morning, pick a card. And there's nobody causing trouble.
Yeah, this is true.
Nerds, but...
and I, you know what? And I just saw it popped up on my screen. I see George Schindler in the house. I just want to give a shout out to George.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I want to tell you a quick story. When Matt King and I were about 20 or 21 years old, this is before either one of us ever appeared on any television show or anything. No one knew Mac and I from anybody. We were just 2 kids from Kentucky. We drove up to New York and we went to Tannen's Magic Shop because we wanted to see the big magic shop there. And we met George Schindler in the shop, and we were talking to George, and we asked him, is there any other magic things we should see? He says, oh yeah, you should go to the Flosso Magic Shop and this other magic shop. Come on, I'll take you. And he walks us, 2 kids he has never met before in his life. He's never heard of us. just two kids he met in a magic shop. He walked us block after block, took us in, introduced us to Jackie Flosso, took us to another shop, and it was just lovely. And I'm just trying to emulate George Schindler, and we all should.
Well, that's a tough act to emulate George Schindler. And seeing as you brought him up, I think when we opened when we opened the show right at the beginning, I introduced most illustrious Tom Gentile, Rock Chow, and Joel, etc. And I also introduced George, and you may just have missed that because it's the same here. I was talking to him some years ago. Blah, blah, blah. I'm coming through to New York and then going on to Vegas, whatever. I said, "Oh, come stay at my place for a few days." And then we had the most amazing time just sitting in his kitchen. He then says to me, "You ever been to the Macpella Cemetery?" And I said, "No, what is it?" And he said, "That's where Houdini's buried." I'm trying to do an impersonation of George because that's how he talks, right? You'll know that, right? Yeah, that's where he's buried. And I went, "Okay, he said, you want to go?" And I'm, "Okay, who do I kill, George? Who do I kill?" So he takes me there, and we talked about this actually on the last Darkstone Dossiers with Dorothy Dietrich. But we won't sort of talk about Houdini now for the moment because the show's about you guys. But this is the kind of wonderful, lovely.
There's George right there.
He's right there. He's right there. Uncle George, speak up.
Well, thank you very much. If you come to New York today, I take you to Nathan's for hot dogs.
Oh, what? You got it. You got a deal.
It's close to my home, and it makes it easier than going into the cemetery. But thank you. Very nice words.
Good to see you, George.
Yeah, that was a kind of private joke because who was a Bill Gleason that many SAM people will know. He collected me and took me around to the Twin Towers and what was left, the hole in the ground, etc. We won't go into that story because we'll do it on the Darkstone Dossiers sometime. And then we showed up so late, George had to stay up because he took me to Nathan's for one of the hot dogs or Frankfurters or whatever. And yeah, don't let's get started on stories, George. Yeah, it's great. No, not at all. I mean, come on, we gotta love George. So Keith, I'm going to dive into you to tell us a story about Lance or you or a road story, or all three of you.
I mean, there's so many of them, and he's, I think back of everybody I've met. I mean, I'm 59 and I'm the youngest guy in this show. So we're all kind of old. We're getting old.
The name of the tour is Grumpy Old Magicians.
Yeah. Having fun.
Yeah.
And we're having fun, but we all decided getting old is not for the lighthearted.
You gotta be tough to get
old. You gotta be tough to get old. And we're
tell me about it. I can't wait to get there.
If you think Lance has got big shoes to fill because guys like Jay Marshall and Billy McComb and Walter Blaney, they all lived to be in their 90s, and they all did what Lance is doing today. But I will admit, we'll be at a signing someplace, and I've seen this happen more than once, and a kid will come up and Lance will go, "Come around here." And the kid will go around behind the counter, and then Lance will take him over the corner because he's not going to share the secret with everybody. And he spends 30 minutes with this kid, and the line patiently waits. They're all sitting there admiring, and that guy's really being nice to that kid. And it's nothing new. I mean, George Schindler still does it to this day. Lance does it. It's why we have such admiration for these guys, because they do this. And
they may not made. They are.
They don't have to.
People like George and Lance, are masters of the art. I'm not going to call it a craft in relation to them.
I don't think they have a choice. They are genuinely excited about the magic and sharing it with a young mind. And I mean, it's a labor of love. You watch him do it. Lance is getting more out of it than the kid, and I admire it very much. And the people in line do.
The thing when you're learning magic, when you're starting out and you're a kid, one of the hardest things is to learn from those instructions you get with the tricks.
Well, particularly if you're left-handed.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I had the sponge rabbits, and the sponge ball. And you tried to read the instructions of how to do the pass, with the sponge. And you're a kid and you're reading this. This hand goes, see what? And you're like, you've never seen anybody do the trick, you've never actually performed. It's almost impossible.
Oh, and the worst one was they would say, force the card with your favorite method. I don't have a method. This is my favorite method. I know nothing. You know, he'll take a kid who's totally frustrated, spend 30 minutes with him, and he basically met God. Okay.
Well,
and he can do it.
When I was a kid, you know, there were guys in my life, there were magicians like Harry Collins. There was a guy in Louisville, he's still around, named Larry Hibbs, and he taught me how to do the pass with the sponge ball, to pretend to put it in your hand. And until he showed me, I could not do it. And then I still do it the exact same way. And that's the way I teach the kids. And if you've never done sponge balls, I know it looks hard when you're trying to learn it from instructions, but all it is, it's like snapping your fingers like that. Right. It's 2 fingers and thumb and 1 finger and thumb. So you start out 2 fingers and thumb and 1 finger and thumb, and it's just a snap in coordination with the other hand, and it looks like you put it in there, and you do it at speed, and you pick up the other one.
You know what, Mr. Burton, sir, Your Highness, I just watched you do that like about 3-4 times that you did it.
So
yeah, I do it. We all do it. But I was mesmerized because this guy was born. This guy I'm calling you, I call you Highness and then refer to you as this guy, was born with class and elegance. Everything you've done has got class and elegance, and you've just proved it. You're not on the Kitty's nodding. Look, you're not on the Las Vegas stage. You got a crumpled up piece of paper, and you know you did this pass. It's not even a pass. I mean, you transferred it over.
Well, we may not be in Las Vegas, but we're in one of the finest living rooms in Kentucky.
I heard this story from a gentleman called Mr. West. I know about the home in Vegas, and you sold it, and I've seen pictures and stuff like that. I actually did.
It's a lovely home too. It's very nice.
You sold it. It was it's not a home; it's a castle on top of a hill. Quite right. But anyway, we won't go there. And then Keith says to me when I'm talking to him one day, he says, come over to the farm in Kentucky, like everybody else. You go, okay, there's a farm, you know, there's a couple of ducks, maybe, a horse or whatever. And he said, man, when I got there, yeah, that's not everybody's idea of a farm.
It looks like South Fork.
Yeah, right. That's what you told me. He said it looked like South Fork.
Well, that's not the whole story.
No, go ahead.
His house was built for his mother. And his original home where he lived as a child is right on the property here.
Well, that
was his mom's. Yeah,
that was my mom's. Mom and dad lived there. My grandparents lived there.
Yeah, and there was an old shack out back where Grandpa lived.
Yeah,
yeah. It's just kind of like stunning. I mean, I could sit. You know, we've been talking for about 6 minutes, and guess what? An hour has gone by or more.
Well, that's a good time.
Yeah, 6 minutes, and it's gone by. I'm so delighted to have, you know, not that you needed it, but it's so nice to have what I would call, inverted commas, your close crew family of Kitty and Keith here as well. And Keith, you know, in my research, fed me a lot of stories, which I put in my notes. And we will get with Keith and Kitty on another Darkstone Dossiers and go into some great depth, because I really want to talk to her about a little bit more about box jumping and stuff like that. I had a good fortune back in, when was it? Oh man, I don't even remember where it was. I think it was Dallas. No, it was Dallas 2000. Dallas 2000, TAOM, to actually do something. And my son was there too. And we did something with dear Mark, blessings for his memory, and Nani, who's still there, by the way, and she's a member of our International Assembly, who, to me, was, you know, one of the greatest in her day. I think you'll agree with that, Kitty, right? If there ever was a box jumper, she was it. I mean, I've never seen her perform live. Nanny Wilson.
Oh, Nanny Darnell.
Yeah. Well,
there's a number of good ones. She was fantastic. Lynette Chappelle is amazing.
Yes.
Gracie Weiss is fantastic. Gracie Weiss is Rick Thomas's old assistant who married a guy that owned a water company. And Stacy Jones is fantastic. And Stephanie from your show was my favorite. Of all your Burton's babes, Stephanie was the ballerina, and she was fabulous. I was in love with Stephanie for many years.
Well, I think a few people watching this tonight
Yeah.
I'm sorry about this, Keith, but hey, they got good taste. A lot of them are in love with Kitty.
There's a lot of really good box jumpers.
Amazing. And a lot of them she's probably sitting back there going, no, there's no way that lady's a grandma, right? And when she told me,
yeah.
I thought it was Miss Two. Yeah, exactly.
It's
When
cute.
she first told me when I was writing up the article on her for MUF, I mentioned that before. She told me, and I thought, oh yeah, right, okay. She said, no, really? Yeah, I'll send you some pictures. And you did. Yeah.
I can tell you one thing that'll make a box jumper better.
Yeah.
She has a real strong understanding of costumes. She makes all the costumes for us. So she understands what goes into building a costume to work in the trick. Plus, she has a tremendous mechanical understanding. She can tear cars apart and transmissions and put them together, and she's amazing. And every girl who's lasted a long time with me has the ability to some extent, not as quite strong as hers, but they all have a mechanical background like Brandy does, Maddie does. Lindsay came from the farm. Farm girls make extremely
Country
good
girls
box
are the
jumpers.
best.
Yeah, the farm girls are the best because they take a bruise real nice. They'll smile even though they're hit hard. And they're stronger. They'll lift heavy things. And they like to dress up and look pretty. So it works out. Anyway, I'm just trying to give you a compliment.
Well, I think you did
Country
pretty
girls
good. You
are the way to go.
succeeded. Wouldn't you say so, Lance? He succeeded. He was trying to
Yeah.
give her a compliment, but he succeeded.
Find yourself a
And
country girl.
she's what is it? Tetris?
Oh, I am the
Oh.
Tetris queen.
She's the Tetris
Oh,
queen. She can
right.
take the 22 crates and figure out how to put them in the trailer.
Yeah.
What
Well, the whole thing
make
is
them all
she can
fit.
take a trailer load of tricks that should take a 52-foot trailer and get it in a 40-footer. Which we can't go over 40 feet and we can't go over 26,000 pounds, or there's a bunch of paperwork we got to deal with, and Lance and I don't want to deal with that. So we have to stay under 40 feet and under 26,000 pounds, that's a whole story on its own. I can give you a whole talk on how to buy trucks and trailers, and she can, one night we had a flat. And this state trooper decided he was going to help her change the tire. And it was snowing. And it was like 3 a.m. and Brandy and Madeline knew better than to get out of the truck because stay out of her way is the best advice. And this state trooper comes up with his flashlight saying, "You want me to help her with that?" And I said, "Well, you can, but she's pretty much 96 pounds of get out of my way." And he just took a step back and held the light. She had that tire
I
changed.
changed the tire in the sleet and the rain while they held the flashlight.
Well, he held the flashlight. I just stood there and tried to look pretty. But yeah. One time we were doing a show and the fuel pump went out, and we had to get to the second show. It was summer reading program, and she crawls out with a hammer
Bang that.
and starts beating on my fuel tank on this box truck. And it started, she goes, "Don't let off the gas." And we made it to the second show and got within a block of my warehouse when it finally died. She says, "I got you almost home." And she was within a block. So then we put a new fuel pump in and we were fine. Oh, you need a box jumper like this. And she's got dirt under them polished nails. You look, there's grease under them
I don't
nails.
have a manicure yet.
But she's not afraid to get her hands dirty, and she can make a nice costume.
And I
Yeah.
will have one recommendation too. If you're looking for a box jumper, dance skills are very lovely and very nice, but gymnastics, do not discount the gymnastic skills. Personally, people are like, "Oh, you dance so cute." I don't dance, but I can shove myself in a hole in 3 seconds flat.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you do that. Come out of it, and it's kind of like, what? Yeah. Even when, like some of us have been around, even when you know how it's done, you kind of appreciate it more when you know how it's done, and you think, my God, you did that in, like you were saying, 3 seconds flat. So if you don't know how it's done, you're watching it and people are going, yeah, whatever. But if you know, you're going, yay, whoa.
Well, and there's a lot more to it than people think. I mean,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
been helping us with small stuff, like she assists Lance with the Miser's Dream. And there's one, Lance has the coolest finish to Miser's Dream of anybody, because he has the kid grab a coin and put it in his pocket. Then he tells the kid to pull it out of his pocket, and the coin's really in there. And when he pulls it up, she gives him this look, and then I hit this remote to play this special effect that goes, ding. It is so cool. And nobody does it like the Miser's Dream's what sucked him in.
It was Burns and Allen.
And he's the king of the Miser's Dream.
Well, Jeff McBride is
good.
king.
Well,
No,
you're on the throne too. You're really good at it.
I like Jeff's routine. His is my favorite.
Well, you have to admit, when that kid pulls that coin out, everyone in the audience, their mouth is on the jaws on the floor, and then she's sitting there giving that look like that was really amazing, which she gives the audience the permission to be amazed, and he's killing it.
I always like when you're there. There's two main assistants. There's stage assistant, and those are people that usually bring things on and off the stage. And then there's box jumpers, the ones that actually get in and out. And a lot of women do both, and some do one and some do the other. I'm way better at a box jumper than I am standing perfectly still. I'll fall over if I don't move. Burns and Gracie Allen.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen that clip when she goes to help the magician, and as she goes, okay, now look surprised, and you go,
yeah,
well, and that's what I do every time I do it.
It helps. I mean, I do the Miser's Dream too, only because Lance taught me in his living room how to do it. I wasn't doing it at my show. I asked you about it. Well, you really need to do this. And you gave me a 2-hour lesson on it.
It's the greatest trick in magic. That's the trick that got me interested in magic.
Well, you sold me on it because I thought it was silly till I saw your show in Vegas and thought I could never do it. And I still can't do it that well. I do it well enough to amaze people.
It's a great trick, and it's got the perfect plot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You need money, you reach out in the air, and there it is. Who doesn't like that?
Well, it's magic. It's magic.
For a week
It's the epitome of magic, and it keeps on, multiplying, and the champagne bucket gets filled or whatever. As I was saying, we've gone well over our hour in our chat, and it just seems like 6 or 7 minutes.
Anthony, thank you for inviting us on the show, and just everybody out there. We're going to be out on the road.
Hold on, Lance. Hold on. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh,
we're not done. We're not done. We're not done.
Well, we want to be able to tell you where we're going to be.
And you will. You will. The show's not over yet. Well, this part is, because what we do at the end of each Darkstone Dossiers is kind of open up the mics and the chat room. And way folks watching get to talk with you directly, and Kitty and Keith, and they just chat or ask a question or put something up in the chat or whatever. So we ain't done. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to cut over to the meet and greet in seconds. Before I do, huge thanks to George Schindler for his opening words, to most illustrious Tom Gentile, and of course, President-elect Rod Chow, and of course, without whom none of this would take place, and that is our Dean of the Assembly, PNP Joel Zawitsky, and to everybody who showed up, and of course, my 3 guests. So basically, I think what we're going to do now, if that's okay, Joel, is just let's open up the mics in the chat and see who wants to, liaise with and chat with Kitty and Keith till Lance.
We had a comment from Steve Kerr. He said, I did the sword fight trick with Lance the first year. It was in the Folies Bergère.
Michael Rome was the Phantom for a long time, and he's in our current show of Lance Burton and Friends.
Well, don't let you give away too much, just in case we have a few lay folks and even magicians. They don't need to know everything, because I happen to know things that Keith have told me. Yeah, he's back. So let's open. Joe.
Steve called in.
Kerr. I saw him. He was there. I saw Steve Kerr in the gallery a minute ago.
Oh, okay, cool. I mean, I don't know. I don't look at the gallery. We got people like Brett Saul, etc. Well, you know Brett. He's done tech for you.
I know Brett. Oh, now I'm looking at the gallery. I'm looking at everybody.
Well, there's Steve Kerr. He's there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Joel is gonna unmute you.
Louisville Magic Club. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll go to Lou Johnson. Lou.
Hello again, Lance. Lou Johnson here.
Lou.
Yes. How about this? What's the secret to getting so many people in your show to do what you need them to do?
Well, when you're running a full evening show, you really do depend on your people, your assistants and technicians, and it's a group effort. It's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. So you need to build your team, and I think the secret is you treat everybody with respect. And you try to get them all working for the same goal, that you're all there to give a good show, to entertain the people. And you have to kind of foster, I think, that kind of atmosphere in the show. And listen, sometimes your people will give you good ideas. And so I always try to have a vision in my head of what I want to do when I'm working on a new thing, but I'm always trying to keep my ears open, because you never know who's going to give you the idea that's going to be the $1 million idea. But that's it. It's a team sport. So try to play nice for the rest of the team.
Let's go.
I mean, it's the greatest job I've ever had. I'll tell you that right now. I'm having a ball doing it.
Yeah, let's go to Rod Chow, our president-elect at the SCM. He's got his hand up.
Thanks, Anthony. Well, I just want to say this it was really a great session, and it's like conversation, Anthony, that you have with Lance and Kitty and Keith, and you guys are so down to earth, and I've seen Lance here at many online meetings, and it's so great that you are able to share your experiences and help other magicians. So just really appreciate what you do, Lance, and so I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Rod. Very kind of you. Bless you.
Okay, Hagrid has his mic, I think, ready to go. Hagrid.
Yeah, J. Scott Barry dubbed me Hagrid for his things anyway. So this is Spike Nordstrom up here in Montana. Hi, Kitty. I talked to you. Oh, thanks for the T-shirt too. I talked to you guys, and Lance was scheduled to do North Dakota Casino there, and then you couldn't.
Oh, we did it. We did it in July.
Yes, just this past July, but before.
Yeah.
So anyway, I told Kitty and I told Keith before, but we're only like 200 miles away from that casino. You've never been to Montana, as far as I know, and we just have a brand new theater here that was built in like 1921. It's had like several $1 million worth of renovations. It's most beautiful, and you should come here. The ladies'
How close are you? How close are you to Saratoga, Wyoming? Well, we're
I know. We're only a
18th.
few hours. We're only a few hours. But anyway, the lady who basically runs the theater in Billings, Montana, it's called the Alberta Bear Theater. Her name is Jody Grant. And she'd be probably really thrilled to hear from y'all.
Text me the info.
Yeah, exactly. Send the info over, Spike.
Next one is most illustrious.
Okay,
Tom Gentile.
Tom
Lance,
Gentile, most illustrious.
the story behind that citation, it was such an honor because I had the opportunity with Sid Radner when you first opened up at the Monte Carlo, way back. And Sid Radner and I went to one of the openings, and you had a meet and greet before the opening, and I was 3 people away from shaking your hand back then, and you got a phone call, and so that was like 1996 or 98. So this picture is 2016, which is the next opportunity I had to meet you, I think.
Was that in Louisville?
This was in Louisville. Yep.
That was
So
a
it took
fun
almost
convention.
15 years later to get you. And it was such an honor for me to write that, and everything I said on that, I meant. You've
Thank
done
you.
so much for the SAM,
It was very
Magic,
kind of you. Thank you.
SYM, and Rescue Animals. You are the genuine magician, the ultimate gentleman on stage, and we all look up to you, and we all have a reason to be you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I have, thank you, Les. I have a quick question. I'm looking at the gallery now for the first time, and I see the name Harry Monty. May I ask, sir, are you the Harry Monty who is a PNP?
There's 2 of them.
Oh, it's 2 of them. I'm just wondering which one this is. I think
That's-
it
that's
is, judging by the lady. judging by the lady.
Harry and Trudy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, okay. Then it is the same. Then it is the same gentleman. Yeah, indeed. Yes. I have carefully in my collection a copy of MUM with you on the cover, because inside it, they were kind enough back in the day, dear, he's still editor emeritus, Dave Goodsell, had run a little piece on my son. So anyway, Gregory.
And may I
Dwyer.
make a comment?
I'm sorry,
This
who's that?
This is Trudy. This is
Oh,
Trudy,
Trudy.
Harry's
Hi,
wife.
Trudy. Hi. Hi.
And when Harry was national president in 99 or 2000, we were putting together a program called Magic for Special Education. And we wanted a national spokesperson. And we called Lance. And we weren't home when he called back, but he left a message and said, I got your message and I'll be glad to do anything I can do. And several months later, when he was on his way home, he stopped by Nashville and did a videotape for us to use for the program, and was just very wonderful about sharing his time and talent. And it was just awesome. And Lance, we can never thank you enough for that.
It's my pleasure. And there was this very special group down in Nashville. I think they were called the Jesters.
Yes, court jesters.
Yeah, the court
Yes.
jesters. And it was a special ed teacher down there who was into magic, and he taught his students, and they went out and did magic shows, and it was just a wonderful program. And it was a very special evening to get to see them perform.
Tom Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Let's jump.
when they were
next
down there,
Anthony, because
Yes.
we have next was Paul Abbey has had his hand raised for a while.
Okay. I was just going to jump to Mr. Stark because I know he's going to be brief.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd just like to give a massive shout out to Mr. Anthony Darkstone. I think it's absolutely amazing what he's done over this period of time during COVID, and bringing Anthony Darkstone and his Darkstone Dossiers to so many people around the world, and bringing so much joy and happiness in difficult times. So I think I'd like to give a massive shout out and a round of applause to him. And then I'm very sorry, I'm at a loss for words because I'm having my absolute utmost fanboy moment at the moment, meeting and listening to this interview with Sir Lance Burton. I've been an absolute fan, as many of us have, since I was 15. What else can I add than what everyone else has said? Master magician, master technician, the absolute epitome of magic. I think we all look up to him in so many ways, and he has just set the bar and the standard for everyone. So Mr. Burton, sir, thank you so much for inspiring a generation, to continue inspiring a generation, for all that you've done for the animals, the rescue animals, your shows. So
turn it on.
So Lance and Keith, thank you very much. This is the young man who was born in 1982 when you won FISM, that you influenced. This is the effect you have on young people. Just jump
Paul
forward.
Abbey. Paul Abbey.
Yes, sir.
Hi, how you doing? It's great to meet you, Lance. This is Paul Abbey from UK, Surrey, UK here.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm pretty good, and I can't tell you, I've got to add to Mr. Stark's point here about since Anthony pulled me into the SAM, I'm having a fantastic time. I'm really meeting some wonderful people and talking to some wonderful people in here. And here I am talking to a superstar. My God, starstruck. Goodness me. And, you know, all I wanted to say really was the reason why I love magic so much, and it's taken me all over the world doing stuff. I'm a performer, I'm a teacher, but I'm also an actor. And I just looked up your profile. I mean, you're the same age as me. And you know, and I was thinking about Kitty as well, about what she does, and she looks so young. We all look so young, and magic keeps us young. It's fantastic. But I've got to ask, Kitty, you're obviously pretty active with what you do, you know, outside magic and performance. But Lance, what do you do to keep so young looking and fit and strong?
I do have a regimen that I follow every day. I work out and I exercise. I have to stretch every day, or else my back will start freezing up. And so, yeah, I've got the aches and pains, but I actively work at it. And the last couple of years, I've really had to change my diet and try to eat a little healthier. when I was performing, doing 2 90-minute shows a night, I could basically eat whatever I wanted because I was burning so many calories during the show that it kept the weight off. But I've really had to concentrate on it and try and really concentrate to try to eat healthy over the last few years. So, you know, when you're an actor, when you're a performer, when you're on stage, your body, this is your instrument. So you have to take care of your instrument so you can play the instrument. You can entertain people. And you can do your job.
Get in boxes, so
yeah, I still vanish and reappear. And
thanks. It's great to meet you. It's great to meet you. Thanks very much.
Brett Soul. Brett.
Hey, Brett.
Hey guys. Welcome. I get to call Lance a friend I've known for 40 plus years. Because
that long? You don't look that old.
Yeah, I'm a month older than you are. You know that. Luckily, my Magic Club is named after Lance. We're the Lance Burton's 64. The ring is 64. It's Lance Burton ring.
I thought it was the Matt King Assembly.
It's a Matt King Assembly, but you're the other side. You're the enemy team. Whatever.
We'll have to vote on that next time.
Yes, we will. But luckily, Lance is very supportive of our club and of our young members. We had our annual show called It's Magic, and we had a young lady on there, 11-year-old performer. Lance took her before the show and said, "Here's what you need to do on stage. Play to the audience, play to the balcony." Spent, I know, at least 20, 30 minutes just giving her tips on how to be on stage. The other reason I came on here, first off, Magic Joe. She's incredible, and she will hopefully be at the convention in Vegas if she gets the call. I know she's auditioned. Lance, as he talked about, he did the Broken Wand ceremony for Thomas Tobin at Cave Hill Cemetery. That is on video. He also did the Cool Kentucky thing with Mac at the Fraser Museum. That is also on video, and those are both now in the chat. So if anyone wants to watch those, the links are there. So please enjoy those. Copy them, get over it. But it was 2 hours of Lance and Mac sharing stories about how they came up, much more in depth than what we were able to do today. So if you want more, go those links. So that's it. Somebody else take over. Bye.
Thank you, Brett, and thank you for always being there on those events and documenting them and doing all that stuff. And I know everybody at the Louisville Magic Club appreciates all you do, but I don't think we say it often enough, Brett. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, let me say it. I don't say it often enough anyway, but I will anyhow. We have a little joke thing here where Brett has always rode shotgun on the Darkstone Dossiers. He takes care of the gallery and makes sure everything, goes like it should. And today, thanks also from the mysterious Isle of Man, Peter Stevens and Michael Lighty, not Michael Lighty, I keep saying that, Michael Kelly also happily volunteered to come and keep an eye on the gallery. Not that we need it, but hey, you never can tell. And a huge thank you to Elmo Huvila, another SAM International Assembly member from Finland, for staying up so late in Finland, because in Europe everything's sort of much later. Keith Payne from England, from the Magic Circle, great there. Somebody else had their hand up. Oh, Jeffrey Allen, yes. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go to Gregory Dwyer. He's had his hand up for a little while.
Hi, Lance. How are you?
Hey.
So we met like 20 years ago, and after a show in Vegas, I said to you, "I love the Dove-Vac," and you said to me, "Are you a magician?" And I said, "I used to be. I'm now a minister because I went to seminary." You turned around within 10 seconds and said, "You're from New Fairfield, Connecticut." And I said, "What?" And I stood there and I said, "I'm not leaving until you tell me how you knew that." I was just completely stunned. I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe it was pre-show. I had no idea. And then you turned to me after a few minutes and you said, "I know your friend Peter White. I buy my silks from him." And I'll never forget it. And I thought to myself, if I ever had a chance to meet you, I would tell you that story 20 years later.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Peter, I used to get the silks and scarves from him, and he was a great guy. In fact, Mac and I were staying at Peter's house when we drove in to Tannen's and met George Schindler for the first time.
Yep, that's where I grew up, and I just had to tell you that story. So thank you so much. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill D.
Yep. Bill D. Joe
How we doing, man?
Bill D is next.
How did you come up with the idea of Billy Paul, the movie?
Back when I was like 12 or 13, 14 years old, there was a TV series called The Magician, starring Bill Bixby.
Yep.
That was the greatest TV series in the history of television, as far as I'm concerned. And it only lasted for one season. And the talent court, the magic advisor was Mark Wilson, and he appeared on many episodes. And by the way, all that whole season, all the episodes are available on DVD on Amazon now. And I bought them, and I've been rewatching them, and they really are great. It's great television episodes. But anyway, and then later on, when I moved out west, and I got to meet Mark Wilson, and then Mark and I got to work together when I did Knight Rider, and we became friends because we were working, closely on the Knight Rider TV episode. And after filming all day, one day, Mark and I are going to dinner, and we're in his car. We're driving to a restaurant, and Mark Wilson says to me, "Lance, how do you like doing this work?" And I said, "Oh, you mean doing this TV episode?" I said, "Mark, this is a dream job. I get to do magic. I get to act. I get to work with the stunt guys. It's really fascinating. I love it." And Mark says to me, "Well, you're doing a good job, and you should think of doing more of this." And I said, what do you mean, think of doing more of this? He said, "You should start keeping notes about a series or a movie or something using magic and to tell the story and action adventure." And I went, "Oh, that's a good idea." So I did. I started keeping notes, and that rattled around in my brain for like 20 or 30 years. And then finally it popped out, and there you are holding it in your hand.
You did a great documentary on Box Girls.
Which doc is that?
That is Women in the Boxes.
Oh, Women in Boxes. Yeah, that was a documentary that Dante Larson's wife made. And she interviewed me and some of my girls there in Las Vegas but you're right. That is a very good documentary. I haven't seen it in a few years, but it's terrific. But that was Blair Larson, I think, who produced and directed that.
Right, they give you credit on it too.
Oh, did they? What did they credit? What did they credit? What did they say I did?
Cameos.
Oh, cameo. Yeah, I appear on it for a few seconds.
I think
Thank you.
Glenn. Oh, you're welcome, Bill D. Glenn Mackin is next, and then Jeffrey Allen.
Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Lance, how are you?
Good.
Anthony, I want to thank you for bringing Keith and Kitty and Lance. This has been a wonderful program. I've really enjoyed it.
You're very, very welcome.
Lance, you and I met many years ago, 1981, at the Tannins Jubilee. I was responsible for bringing Rudy Kobe before he could drive to all the SAM meetings and the Jubilees and conventions. And you and I probably spent 2 hours in the lobby just talking and sharing magic. And actually, you probably can't see this, but sorry. But you signed an autograph book. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
It still looks like you're out of
Yeah, that looks like my handwriting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago. But you have just been, I've admired you for many years. In fact, thanks to you now, I'm a member of IBM, which, but I wanted to ask, do you have any additional plans to do another movie?
Let's see, Billy Toppet 2, The Search for Spock. So we have
that's for real, a title? That's for real?
Or Billy Toppet versus Godzilla. One of those. Yeah, that one seems to be popular.
Well,
okay,
I'll look forward to seeing that.
Thank you, Glenn. Jeffrey Allen, also a member of our International Assembly. Jeffrey, please.
Oh,
he had
there
his
you
hand
go.
up. Oh, there he is. He's here.
There he is. Hey, Jeffrey. We just saw them.
Nice to see you.
Up
You're
in,
just at our place.
up at the museum. And we saw him in August up at the museum, the American Museum of Magic.
And we watched
That's
him do
right.
it.
Yes. Nice
Yeah.
to see you all. We're
And then
just
we
saying
saw
hello.
after your show at Abbott's. We came to your show in the afternoon.
We're just saying hello.
Yeah, we just stopped in to say hi.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys.
Well, please
Actually-
come to our place again.
Hey, Keith, we're in your driveway. We're wondering where you are.
Okay. That happens a lot. You know, I'm like, when Lance calls, I gotta go.
Just pick up the brick that's laying there, break the window. That's
Yeah.
what it's for.
Yeah. Well, you know how to get in.
That's your key, huh?
Just make
Okay.
yourself at home. You always do.
Okay.
And
Kitty, I
clean
got to
up
show you
after
something
yourself
else.
this time, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I'm looking around the gallery
Hey.
here and I see some lovely people. Robin Byers, Donna Horn, of course, great. John Sinjewicz, I pretty much pronounced his name wrong, I'm sure. There's a couple other people that I know here. Did I say Jim Slavlik? Yep. Anyway, I've got your email and we're whatever. Brian Rollet is here from the mystical island of Malta. If you're a member of the assembly or you go to the SAM official page, you will know about his amazing show Within the Chamber that comes from a 400-year-old building, mystery building in the mystical island of Malta. Tom is holding up a really nice
This is
banner.
great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So everybody's blowing kisses. Joel, I don't see any more raised hands.
We're good.
Main-
One thing. I got one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yes. November 10th, we're in Greeley, Colorado, followed by November 18th in Saratoga Springs, Wyoming. And then the 21st of November, we're in Bend, Oregon at the lovely Tower Theater. And then followed by the 27th of November in Vegas. Tell them about that.
Las Vegas. So anyway, the whole schedule will be on my website, lanceburton.com. If you follow me on Facebook, I'll post stuff there too for the whole schedule. But we're wrapping up the tour in Las Vegas, and we're doing a benefit show for Opportunity Village and Variety Children's Charity of Southern Nevada. Two organizations there in Las Vegas that are near and dear to my heart, and we're very happy to be there and perform. And it's for kids with special needs, and anyway, it's going to be a fun tour. If you're anywhere near, please come by and say hi. We'd love to see you.
Please come see.
Yeah. Keith, did you want to say something?
I just want to say those dates that we have available. Oh, that Keith. Never mind.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, not Keith. From England. Oh, okay. Well, it says, tell them, I'm just reading this. Tell them hi from Larry the Pizza Guy. That sounds good. Larry the Pizza Guy.
Oh, Larry.
Oh, Larry, that's.
Oh, Larry the Pizza Man.
That's our Larry.
That's our Larry.
You obviously got a lot of fans, Larry.
Well, Larry's in the show.
Larry's
We
in the
love
show.
Larry.
Oh, okay.
Keith-
That Larry. Okay.
Keith Payne is waving at us, and I think he has something to say.
Yeah, what do you want, Keith?
Well, I gave him, he switched his mic off. I keep
Can
saying.
you hear
come on.
me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Hi, Lance. Yes, sir. Yes, I was in the Blackpool Gala show with you and Matt King last year. I was Wayne Dobson's double. So.
Oh, fantastic. Good to see you, Keith. And we had such a fantastic time in Blackpool. I had no idea there were so many magicians in the world. 5,000 magicians showed up in Blackpool, and it was just amazing. And the people were so friendly and warm, and it was really one of the highlights of my career was appearing there in the Blackpool Opera House.
No, it's the Winter Garden Theater.
It was
beautiful. Winter Garden Theater.
It was
Being the
built
same
in the
show as you was
1860s.
fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And the audience was terrific.
Fantastic. Yeah. We had a great time. Thank you. Good to see you.
That's a great
Thank
stage
you.
there, isn't it, Lance? In that Winter Garden Theater, there's a great stage. It's a beautiful apron.
It was
really
it
good.
was
Yeah.
built. It was built in the 1860s.
Right.
So Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States.
And it's almost finished.
Yeah.
Well worth performing there if you ever get the opportunity. Great opportunity.
Absolutely. I'm just looking around the gallery really quickly, and a quick thank you to Nuruddin Belawi, aka Magic Noor, who is our SAM Assembly Envoy in Morocco. Another great magician who, just acknowledge him. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, we are now coming to that time where I think we all jointly need to undo our mics and give Kitty, Keith, and of course Lance a huge round of applause. Thank you from me, from the heart, for taking the time to come out and share a little bit of your wonderful life. Thank you, Lance. Thank you all.
Everybody. Love
Come
you
see
guys.
us. Come see us on the road.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
God bless.